We have an instant audit on it right now. Charles Payne is with us, and we're joined by Jeff Duncan of Duncan Financial Management. But come on, Charles, the reason they had to sign this, or the president thinks he had to, in an executive order is because they couldn't pass it through Congress. Evan Bayh talked about it when he resigned. You can't pass a deficit commission through Congress, a long-term issue that everybody agrees is a big one. What can you pass?
Well, I don't think it's the fact that you're going to have a commission. The fact is that it's going to be a sincere commission.
All right, well, no, but that's a cop-out.
It's not really.
It is a cop-out because you're going to say, all right, we don't want to have a commission because, these commissions never get anything done. So what, we're going to sit back and do nothing?
It's not that they don't get things done. It's just that, listen, if we're going to be used as a pawn to further your agenda, who wants to be part of that? I mean, it's like when the president talks about compromise, and he said this many times, if the Republicans bring up ideas and I like them, then we'll use them. You know what? That's not the essence of compromise. That means that you like them. The essence of compromise is doing things that you don't like.
If it was a bipartisan commission, a congressional commission that had authority, how is that being used as a pawn? If both sides are represented on it in a bipartisan basis, which was what was proposed, by the way, but it was rejected by Democrats and Republicans at the end of the day, didn't have enough support to get through.
It didn't. I just think that I don't think that Republicans, at least, feel like it would be a sincere sincere effort. It would be something that would be used to mask the fact that I think no matter what, the administration is going to have to find a way to tax people who make less than, households that make less than $250,000 a year, and they need cover for that.
They do need, well, that's right, because what the president promised in the campaign. Jeff, what's your take on all this? Because now it goes into effect as an executive order. Well, this commission may not have as much, as I said, power as a congressional one would have, which could, because Congress writes the laws. This is just a presidential commission appointed by executive order. What do you make of it?
It's just a stopgap measure because Congress couldn't come together. The bottom line is this, is that the Democrats believe in one way of getting the economy moving and the Republicans believe in a different way. And it's just a clash. They're never going to come together. That's why they didn't come together. And this is why the president all of a sudden puts this committee together, which will probably go on forever and really not get anything done.
Well, by the end of the year, they're supposed to have recommendations. I mean, that's a fair time period, isn't it?
By the end of the year, well, this is, I mean, this has been going on now for this administration for a year, and previously with the Bush administration. Action needs to be taken. This is a significant problem. We just can't keep waiting and waiting. We have to have members of Congress and the president get together in a room and iron this stuff out. The problem is people do not want to make the difficult decisions to fix the problem.
Jeff brings up a good point that the Democrats and the Republicans have different strategies, Charles, in terms of how they want to approach this, right? So the Democrats look at entitlement programs. This is just, maybe this is an overgeneralization, but they look at Social Security, Medicare, and all these things. They say, we don't want to make cuts to our, entitlement programs that have been in place for many years. Most independent experts look at it and say, if you don't, we go broke. You must make cuts. And Republicans look at it and say, well, we don't want to raise taxes. Again, if you look at what the Peterson Foundation is, or all these other foundations that have looked at it and said, at some point, maybe not now because the economy is fragile, 2 or 3 years down the line, taxes have to go up. Why not both?
Although, well, there's a fundamental difference. I thought it was interesting that the Prime Minister in Greece
couldn't both be right at some point? Taxes go up and spending comes down, and the deficit gets managed that way. I mean, come on, that's just
at some point maybe that might be what happens, and maybe it may have to be where both sides are a little bit disappointed, and but no matter what, though, I think the spending aspect has to be addressed, and I think we see that Greece, for instance, the Prime Minister's actually talked about cutting taxes there as a way to stimulate the economy, and it's pretty interesting for a socialist to say that, but the point is, do they need a commission that's going to take till the end of the year? At this point, I think everybody knows the problems. I think there actually should be some sort of greater sense of urgency, and it shouldn't be a dog and pony show, and it shouldn't be something that's manipulated. And both sides need to show more leadership with respect to your point. I don't know that there's the right kind of leadership out there.
Well, don't you think Evan Bayh was right the other day, or do you think there were some other motives behind that? I mean, the idea he comes out and says, hey, we can't get anything done, including this. And he says that's the reason he said he's stepping down. He's sick of it. No?
I think he was very right. It's hard to argue with. He pointed out his relationship with Dick Lugar, who Republican, and that they've been able to hammer things together, hammer things out. And I look at when I hear him speak, and when I heard Christopher Dodd speak, I didn't hear Byron Dorgan, but to me, they also were sending messages to the president, in my mind. You know that.
Well, he was
he's
unhappy with his own party having by.
Extremely unhappy.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, almost every time he said something negative about the GOP, he said something negative about the Democrats, or at least, you know, suggested something negative. But I think they're both saying to the president that he's going to find a different sort of leadership style. Either he's going to have to find it now, or it's going to really be foisted upon him after November.
All right, and this deficit commission, I mean, you could put money on the fact that they're going to say you got to cut spending and raise taxes at some point. Money on it, right? You want to bet? You take that bet right now? That's what this commission's going to come out.
I bet you $10 they have a commission and they may have to dissolve it. I don't know.
I'm telling you, that's what's going to come out of it. And then we're going to wait till the end of the year to find out. Charles and Jeff will be back to you a little bit later on as well. Let's go to Charles Payne and Jeff Duncan, who rejoin us now. One of the things, Jeff, that this shows is that, well, instead of the stimulus really acting quickly and things that, as the saying goes, were shovel-ready, it's taken a while to get to the infrastructure and some of the transportation projects. Many of those things are just being rolled out now.
Well, once again, we're throwing money around like it's candy, and at some point we have to say, where are we going to come up with the money to pay this back? And as you pointed out, where is the money? Why are we not getting any production, or why are we not getting any results 1 year later with a significant problem that we have in the country? So I think we're hitting and missing, and I think we're guessing what we need to do to correct the economy instead of putting together a really good plan, a long-term plan. It's the short-term ideas being put in place with money that, quite frankly, the government doesn't have to spend.
Looking at recovery.gov, Charles, which is supposed to track all this, total funds awarded they have down somewhere like $198 billion, but funds received are something like $57 billion. So you're saying the money hasn't, even the money that's been awarded, and there'll be more awarded, even that money hasn't really been doled out yet. They say the jobs is 595,000, which you and I have gone over a million times. It's impossible to measure. But how do you compare this? I mean, something you talked about, say, in China, they said, boom, we're going to hit you with a stimulus right away, whereas here it was a huge number, 787 billion. But it's taken a while, hasn't it?
It has taken a while, and I think what bothers me is that it was deliberately, it feels like it, you know, if you want to be cynical, or you know, if you look at the way the money was even
too much pork,
not necessarily too much pork, but you see how it's going to be doled out, and it becomes a crescendo right ahead of the November elections, and you know, it's
so you think your point is you think it was purposely doled out to help not only the president, but more so congressional members that are running, because they wrote the laws and they're the ones up for re-election in 2010. So they wanted to prop up the economy right before those elections.
I think that played a big role in the way it was advised and the timing of it. And I think that's so disingenuous in the face of it, because I don't think there'd be too many people that would argue that China's stimulus plan has worked a lot.
Those guys don't have to worry about re-election as much.
They don't have to worry about re-election.
Well, that's you know, it's a fair point, Charles. Some people have levied that criticism at it. Jeff, what would you grade that? You know, a year out, what kind of grade would you give the stimulus right now?
I'm still at a C-, D+ at this point, because once again the money has been pushed out. As you mentioned, it's not going to be pushed out until elections roll around. Which, quite frankly, if we get the money pushed out and things start to improve now, you eliminate a lot of rhetoric that's going on with the Republicans pointing the finger at the Democrats that you're not doing anything with the economy. So I think the timing, it really is going to work against them if this doesn't really start hitting until October, November.
Right.
It probably will be too late. But once again, it's a government that needs to be run like a business at this point. And you have politicians trying to be business people, and that's not a good mix.
Charles, you want to go higher real quick than C-, D+, or are you pretty much on board with that too?
Yeah, I was more in the D- area.
D-.
You know, Jeff uses the curve system. So.
You get much worse than that, right? Oh, good grief. F+ or something?
I got to tell you, guys, if they had really put this money to work and people around this country could drive and just see anecdotally people actually working on. Listen, today I was late because I had a patch of black ice just 2 blocks from here. These roads are a hideous shape. You know, that would have been an easy sell to me. I don't think you'd have the Scott Browns in the world if they'd actually had put people to work on some of these shovel-ready projects.
I've seen a couple of those signs, in fairness, those big green signs that say it's provided with stimulus money. I forget where.
I haven't seen any, but I think that there aren't enough of them out there.
Not enough, right. Fair enough. All right, Charles and Jeff, thanks to you guys. 1 year out from the announcement of the signing into law of the stimulus.